Good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with you, to have this opportunity to introduce some amazing local authors to you. I am Michelle Jackson. I'm the founder of the Black Writers Workspace and Black Ink Book Festival, New Orleans. So excited to be here to talk to you and to talk to our guests. So, if you love black books, clap once. If you love black books, clap twice. That is what I want to hear. We are competing with a lot of beautiful voices out there. So we're going to be talking loud and making sure that that you can hear us and that you can learn as we walk through this conversation with these amazing guests. So today we have Freddie Evans. Freddie is an award-winning historian, educator, and author whose work focuses on history and cultural traditions of African Americans in New Orleans and Louisiana. Her books, including Congo Square, African Roots in New Orleans, have helped preserve and interpret the city's rich black history for scholars, educators, and the public. Let's give her a big round of applause. We also have Chef Toya Bodie. She is a New Orleans chef, culinary entrepreneur, television personality, and best-selling cookbook author known for showcasing authentic Louisiana cuisine. Her book, Cooking for the Culture, was followed by her most recent cookbook, Cooking from Scratch. She has appeared on national television shows like the Food Network, Guys Grocery Games, the Today Show, and Hallmark's Home and Family. Let's give her a big round of applause. Today, we get a rare glimpse into the minds of New Orleans' finest writers, a literary community defined by culture, creativity, and craft. In a city where second lines fill the streets and beignets sweeten the air, and every corner tells a story, we're honored to celebrate the voices that capture its spirit. So we're going to lock in today and learn from these amazing writers. We're going to start with you, Freddie. And hopefully she's going to share a little bit more of some of the things that she's working on throughout this conversation. When I think of Congo Square, I am reminded that as a black person, rhythm is part of our DNA. And that's why events like Essence is so essential, because it is in our nature to make space for music and song and dance and creativity. Talk to us about the history of Congo Square, then share with us something you learned while writing your book that you didn't already know about the city of New Orleans.
Is that better? Good morning. Thank you for that question. For those who are not familiar with Congo Square, it's a gathering place. It's a public location that's located on Rampart Street within Louis Armstrong Park complex. From the very beginning of the city, enslaved people were able to gather on Sunday afternoons, but they did so at different locations, along the Mississippi Levee, in backyards, at empty lots, and at other public spaces in the city. But in 1817, which was 99 years after the founding of New Orleans, the city council passed an ordinance that restricted those gatherings to one location, and that one location became Congo Square. That was during the American period, well into the American period. But because of that, we have so much documentation from eyewitnesses who traveled to the city, from newspaper articles that tell us what happened. And we are clear about the impact of the gatherings on Sundays on the culture that we have now. In Congo Square on Sunday afternoons, we know that Africans, enslaved as well as some free people of color, spoke in African languages. They bartered, sold, and bought goods in open market space. They danced the dances from their heritage. They even continued religious practices that they knew in their homelands. These and other traditions happen off and on for well over 100 years in that one location, not the other locations. And because of that kind of retention and intensity, because they gathered by the hundreds, some writers even said thousands. And there were onlookers who took their activities corrupted them, like the minstrels, onto stages across the nation, particularly in New York. For 10 years, E.P. Christie performed minstrels. And so we know that the culture in New Orleans has been impacted or was impacted by those intense and continuous celebrations. Dr. Gwendolyn Miller Hall, who's a historian who wrote extensively about colonial Louisiana, said that New Orleans is the most African city in the country. And we contribute that totally to the cultural retentions that were perpetuated at Congo Square. No other place can we have the second lines that you mentioned. Even the food and the foodways were continued in Congo Square. The dances, and you mentioned rhythms. We know that we have a rhythm in New Orleans called the bamboula beat, the second line beat, the street beat. Those rhythmic patterns, and particularly that one, we know existed in Congo Square. So we see the continuation, but it's not just in Congo Square, it's also in Cuba, in Haiti. So we can connect what happened in Congo Square, not just to the present day culture, but to the African diaspora. Now, the other question you asked, because your question was pretty loaded, was,
what did you learn about New Orleans that you didn't already know?
so my research showed me that Congo Square was not the official name of the location until 2011, until my book came out, because it was officially called Beauregard Square, after the Confederate General P.T. Beauregard. And that happened in 1893 during what was called the Lost Cause, when there were efforts to honor or celebrate the Confederate generals. So there were statues built to them, parks named after them, buildings named after them. And so on paper, it was still Beauregard Square. But I appealed, with the support of the community, to the city council to change the name. And this was before the big effort to take down the statues, like Robert E. Lee and those other ones. But I appealed to them, and we were able to successfully get the name officially changed to Congo Square.
I am sitting next to a legend, everybody, a legend. Thank you so much for that. So, Chef Bodie, I love cooking. I'm from Alabama, so I'm not from here. So when I got here, I think I put on 8 pounds the first week. All right?
Yeah, that's a given. That's a given.
Yes, the food here
That's
is
your welcome
amazing.
package.
Oh yeah, and I want you to take that back, okay? Take it back.
I ain't got nothing to do with that. I'm not an Indian giver. I'm not doing that. I'm not taking that back.
I'm so happy to have you here. We know that you specialize in Creole cuisine,
Yes.
and you cook with heart. With the
Yes.
New Orleans heart.
Yes.
I think the question, though, everyone wants to know when it comes to a cookbook writer is, what's your favorite dish? And then I want you to tell me how the city influenced the creation of that dish.
Well, my favorite dish is gumbo. And it's not for the cliche reasons, it's just for historic reasons. Once I got into cooking and then teaching the history behind food and presenting food as Black history on a plate, once I got into that arena, that's when I was like, yeah, gumbo is my favorite one, because it's the rags to riches story. And that's how I feel about myself. It started its way, it made its way on it started out on the tables of the poor and made its way to the tables of the wealthy. And I feel like that's my story, and that's my family's story too. So when it comes down to the gumbo, how the city has influenced it, gumbo, the word gumbo comes from the African word okra. So it started out, the original gumbo, when they have these battles online, as a person who knows history, I'm just listening like, this is foolish. Like when people say, should okra go in gumbo? Should tomatoes go in gumbo? Should this go in gumbo? And it's like, wait, well, when you think about it historically, it started out with okra. It wasn't first made with the root. The sticky part that we call slime, that's what basically allowed you to go from making a meal that could feed 4 to a meal that could feed 10 to 15, because it allowed it to stretch once you add water and stuff like that. And you got all those bones, the meats, and all of those, odds and ends that made up gumbo, So it was a struggle meal. Now it's kind of almost, I hate to say it, it can be gentrified almost when the wrong person is putting it together and putting it on a plate. You know what I mean? So, I feel like it influenced it with its diversity and willing to, the willingness and ability to survive. Because when you think about the storyline, I always tell people you can fill in the blanks with a little common sense sometimes, right? So when you see the okra, right, at some point they had to run out of okra. At some point, it wasn't available. How did they get to adding the roux into the gumbo? The roux is a French technique. You know, it started out with the bechamels and stuff like that, and you don't have cream and fat like that. You know, that's like rich product. So what do you have? You have oil. You know, and then you have flour. You have lard. You know, you can use stuff like that. You know, so it just changes. The filet goes in with the Indians, the dried sassafras. That's another thickening agent. So it's a melting pot, you know? It's a big pot of a lot of history in one. And that's how I feel about New Orleans. I feel like it's a melting pot. And, you know, it's one of the most pirated, you know, cultures, the New Orleans. Because when you said Louisiana cuisine, I was like, hold up now. I don't do Louisiana cuisine. I live in the United States of New Orleans. Jacques Francois is an artist in New Orleans. If you ever Google him, Jacques Francois, he penned that statement, the United States of New Orleans. And it's different. We got a whole nother swag. An hour away, it ain't like us.
I love
Nowhere is like New Orleans, okay? I have lived a lot of places. I love this place. It is amazing to me.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for those answers. Let's talk about your traditions. What traditions, and this is for the both of you, what traditions have been passed down to you that you feel responsible for protecting for the next generation? And let's start with you, Freddie.
Oh,
traditions, I think, and it's not a tradition that started with me, it's the gatherings in Congo Square, the Ma'afa that we had yesterday, which is a remembrance, a way to commemorate those who we lost during the Middle Passage. So it didn't start with me, but it's one that I participate in, I support, I promote. I spoke yesterday on the history of Congo Square and the influence that it's had on our culture. So I think that is one that I have influenced in a way because of the history, and that it's so important that we continue.
Excellent. Love that. Love that. Chef?
for me, it's respect. My family, when I tell you I grew up in a very black New Orleanian household, and when I look back at it as a parent and as an adult, I look back and I said, man, they had a lot of respect for a lot of people, you know? And they went through everything. My mother dealt with stuff with, you know, around the civil rights movement. My daddy was egged outside of the project, but they still taught us to respect and love everybody. It was never, the idea of racism, I only met it when I played with other kids, you know? So, like, I feel like one of the greatest things that they've given me that has been incredibly beneficial and a leg up with my career is the respect. The ability to respect elders and then know how to take your shoes off in somebody else's culture. And then you know, almost like I was telling my partner, it's almost like a ability to bow yourself a little bit when you're in the presence of an elder, you know? I think that little je ne sais quoi thing that we have in New Orleans, that's what really sets us apart, because we really know how to respect culture and respect people and elders. So that's one of the things I really want to pass down, that, you know, you can have respect but then still be zero tolerant in areas, you know, and still be a pleasurable person.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was only when I moved here that I started to hear the term culture bearer. Talk to me about what that means to you.
It means someone that respects the culture, but also perpetuates it and continues it, you know, holds on to it and shows it. And again, just come back to respect and support. It is one that we don't take lightly, you know, because everybody can be a culture bearer, the young ones as well as the old. So it's very important to our community, more than I've heard in other places. Because like you say, that word is not used easily in other places. But because we respect our culture and we know the richness of it and the value that we have in it, then we are able to use that term in a positive and productive way.
Great answer.
Well, New Orleans is like, there's no other city like it, because the culture bearers are the celebrities. Just like even when my partner saw her, she was like, "Yeah, this is the woman right here." You know what I'm saying? But that's how we are. We look at people and like I ran. I'm a grown woman. I am like what? Almost 44 years old. I ran like a child to go see. Let me go say hi to Mama V. You know, that's culture bearers. They're respected. You know, I feel like they're needed. There's one right there.
That's why.
Absolutely. We see a culture
Oh,
bearer
man.
right here. Absolutely. Sonny Patterson, thank you so much. We are, I wanted to, yes. Let's give Sonny Patterson a hand. So excited to have her here. I am without a doubt fangirling. I love her work. It is amazing. And we're going to give her the microphone to just catch us up on what's going on with you. Talk to us about the power of being a culture bearer in a city like New Orleans. And then we're going to move things ahead.
All right. Hello. Fighting BeautyCon traffic was a whole nother thing, but thank God for the book con in this way. So I'm Sunny. I'm a poet and teacher and mama and every other thing, magician most times. But I think that's probably all of us, and I think especially as a writer, we have to be magicians. This is what we do. We're alchemists. We take words and shape worlds. So my aim and goal in life is really to be a connector. So how do we connect intellect and intuition? How do we connect our science and our art? How do we connect these aspects, from the mountain to the valley in this way? So I feel like it's the writers and the artists, the people who bring these elements in, the preservationists who bring in these elements of what it means to know that the separation is an illusion. What it means to know that we have all of these parts of our bodies that are, we have 2 lips for 1 mouth, two ears for this one aspect of hearing, 2 eyes for this vision. So all of these things of duality that have to come together to make this one mechanism move, those are the things I'm interested in. How do we get to this aspect of really knowing and putting that out that, again, the separation is an illusion, that because and through our words, our reflection and our action has to come together.
Absolutely. Love it. Thank you so much for that. Talk to us, Sonny, a little bit about your book of poetry and that moment you knew you needed to write your book.
Let me say, I was dragged into that. That wasn't so the book that we have, we know this place. I would say it was one of my dear mentors, Baba Kalamu Yasalam, who, what's the word? It's a little stronger than forced me to put some things together. Voluntold is still kind of light. But what commanded, let's go with commanded. But he has the ability to do that, right? So I have writings in many anthologies and things like this, but I didn't really have my own. And so he says, Sonny, it doesn't have to be hard. Just take old pieces, put them together and just put it out. You have to get bit by the first bug. He had to speak to me in baseball language. My family is a baseball team, in this way. So my grandfather played for the Negro Leagues and everything. So he said, in order to get home, you got to get to first. And so I was like, all right, this kind of thing. So it was forced. It wasn't that I didn't want to do a book. Of course, I want to do several books, but my idea was something else. And that, I think, was the big lesson, that when we try to go after this aspect of perfection, what happens is that we can deal with, at some point, the paralysis 1, procrastination 1, then paralysis 2. And then before you know it, here you are stuck, only thinking about what you could be doing. And so this is what I'm saying with this aspect of reflection is one thing and action is another thing. So bringing these aspects together was extremely important for me because I'm so used to moving and going. I'm a generator in that sense, so I can go, right? So to have elders speak to me in this way, and so much of what I do is very oral. so much is, just the cadence of it, the this, the this, the this. So the writing aspect, I wanted to have the writing, yes, but then I wanted, an accompaniment. Then I wanted this, and he's like, let's go to first, and everything else will come. So it was like being bit by a bug at one point. So, I'm grateful for that, and grateful for that commanding, and that push. I can't say a gentle push, because he knocked me off a ledge at one point, but it's okay.
That happens when it comes to writing. You need someone to nudge you along the way. Writers are powerful, and writing is powerful. And so it's so great to have all of you here with us. We have Sonny, who is preserving the city's spirit with poetry. We have Freddie, who's preserving the history through scholarship. And we have Chef, I just like calling you Chef, that's it, who's preserving the culture through food. And we want to give them a big round of a hand. And also, we want to give them an opportunity to invite you to go and purchase their books. We are so excited to have the Community Book Center here today. They have been a great partner for the Black Writers Workspace, and I'm just excited to be a part of this. But be sure to go and purchase all of their books in the bookstore and to get those books signed. So thank you all for being with us.